Yeah. The boy Ego is back. I got some bad news for Jaron Boots Ennis. I'm going to break it down. Rumors abound that there could be a negotiation between Israel Madrimov, who's coming off a loss to Terrence Crawford, and Sergey Bohachuk, who just lost his WBC interim belt to Virgil Ortiz. Now, I know some people, y'all scratching your head. Y'all say, oh, Ego, get to the point. What you mean? What does this got to do with Jaron Boots Ennis? In this video, I'm going to break that down and explain. But first, let me get to square business, the basics. So it's being reported. This reporter, Fernando, he says, and I quote, let me translate it for it. It says, I am informed that a fight between Israel Madrimov, and he tagged him, and Sergey Bohachuk is being negotiated for December 21st in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for the Fury versus Usyk Part 2 card. But the Ukrainian could have a rematch with Virgil Ortiz in February, right? So either way, these look like the next options potentially that are being explored for Bohachuk and Israel Madrimov. Now, for me, this is not surprising because if you pay attention and if you follow my channel, you would know what's going on in boxing. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way for the channel when you guys do that, and it ensures that you are informed with all things boxing and what's going on. But there are many rumors that have surfaced, I guess you could say, that was suggesting that Turki Al-Sheikh, who heads up the Riyadh season cards, that he liked what he's seen from both Madrimov versus Crawford and Bohachuk in his fight with Virgil Ortiz, to the point where he wanted to reward him and bring him back for fights maybe in October, November, December. Better be a Bevo card or the Fury Usyk. So this actually timeline-wise matches up. Now, my thoughts on Madrimov versus Bohachuk. I mean, both guys are coming off a loss, but they're not like shockingly embarrassing losses. So I think it would be a good fight. And Fury Usyk, that's already a fight that I'm interested in based on the first fight was a good fight. So it would be a good addition to the card. Or the other option they're saying is Bohachuk versus Virgil Ortiz in February, which for me, I think that makes more sense because I thought Bohachuk won the first fight. Now enter Jaron Boots Ennis and this whole mess. Jaron Ennis was on PBC cards, not signed to them, but he was on PBC cards. He was working with Steven Espinoza, and he was kind of affiliated with that side of the business, Showtime. Showtime got out of the business, but they still carried on. Espinoza's carrying on with PBC on Amazon Prime. Jaron Ennis, you know, it was announced that he was signing with Eddie Hearn. And immediately when I heard it, the day it came out, you guys could check. The videos are on my page. I don't delete no videos. And I love this about my job because win, lose, or draw, the information, it always comes back. So it's either going to come back to haunt me if I'm wrong, which is rare, or it'll be proven right. And I think I was dead on the money with having questions about this partnership. So let me relate it to Jaron Boots Ennis. Boots teamed up with Eddie Hearn. Immediately, your boy Ego, the best in the business, and it's not even close. I told you I had several concerns with that. One, Eddie Hearn has never produced and promoted an American star, right? If anything, he had Anthony Joshua, who's a British guy, UK guy, and he was on Showtime, which was helping build Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn kind of snaked Showtime and Steven Espinoza, and after the contract was up, kind of pulled the rug from underneath Showtime and took Anthony Joshua to DAZN. So if anything, you've actually hurt a UK fighter's visibility in America. You know, maybe you don't care or what, but people were checking his fights when they were on Showtime. They were actually doing sometimes, because of the time difference, AJ in the daytime, and then they would have Showtime cards at night. So it was like a full day of boxing. Now you're relegated to, you know, DAZN fights. Like even the Daniel Dubois Joshua fight, I personally think it's a good fight. However, I don't really see many people talking about that. You know, I don't really see many people, at least in America, talking about that. So I was always, I guess you could say, I had my doubts about Jaron Ennis. Now with this information that Madrimov could fight Bohachuk, these are two other options that I told you I think would be good fights for Jaron Ennis if he chose to vacate his belt. See, now what's happening with Jaron Ennis is sad because he's a talented guy. And I told you, this is why having a strong team in boxing is paramount. He's a talented guy. He's 27, and making money is cool. But you got to think of the big picture so you can make money for years to come. Instead of, yeah, I make more money in the here and now, but then I never become a pay-per-view draw and superstar where I'm making way more as a pay-per-view superstar than if I would have did that other route, which is more per fight, right? Like imagine, let's say Canelo Alvarez. They built him up on Floyd Mayweather undercards. These are facts. Payday, you'll want payday. I know that. They built him up. You know, he had his fans, and he just, you know, had good resume names, Austin Trout, the Shane Mosleys, blah. And then he started branching off and then doing his own thing. And now being a pay-per-view guy, he's making the most money in boxing, right? So that should be every fighter's dream, to not only have meaningful fights, but have the pick of the litter fights and make top dollar like the Gervonta Davis, like the Canelo Alvarez. But for Boots, how does he even get there? Because I'm noticing a pattern. People are throwing out all these names that Boots could fight, but none of the fights are manifesting. None of the fights are materializing. I've seen people saying, oh, Boots can fight, move up to 54 and vacate his belt, fight Bohachuk, fight Madrimov. That'll be good. And I agree, those would be good fights. But now they're saying that Madrimov and Bohachuk are in negotiations to fight each other. Then people are saying, oh, Boots can move up to 54 and fight Charles Conwell. But word on the street is Charles Conwell said that, or his side, his team, has said that they were offered peanuts. So that's not likely to happen, right? So people are throwing out all of these names for Jaron Ennis, but Eddie Hearn is not getting any of them done. And I want you guys to focus on that. Throwing out Barrios' name, throwing out Stanionis' name, throwing out Brian Norman Jr. That's like, I literally named like 6 people. Brian Norman, Barrios, Stanionis, Charles Conwell, Sergey Bohachuk, you know, Virgil Ortiz, Israel Madrimov. That's 7 people, but none of the fights are actually happening. So then you look at Jaron Ennis, what could he do? Because a lot of these guys, either the offers they're saying was a low ball and they never went over. Like it can't be Brian Norman next because Norman's on the Keyshawn Davis card. He moved on. The free negotiating period ended. So he's already been placed on the card and he's already linked up with Errol Spence Jr. I did a video about that. Check that on the channel. And the rest is history. So again, it begs the question, what's next for Jaron Boots Ennis? Now, Karen Chukadasian was a dreadful first fight. And then on top of that, he's your mandatory and you lost the purse bid. So now Boots could possibly have to fight in Germany against a guy no one even wants to see him fight. This is poor. This is very abysmal for Jaron Boots Ennis' career. He went from November 9th, I think they were saying, in Philly with whoever, potentially Brian Norman unifications, to now it could be Karen Chukadasian. And because Chukadasian's team won the purse bid, Boots could have to fight in Germany. So it will probably come on at some awkward time, not prime time for Americans. I mean, I just don't see the play. I don't see the vision. Boots has called out Crawford. Crawford is working with pretty much the same people. He can't get that fight. They're talking about Bohachuk and Madrimov. Like, why can't Boots get any good fights with the people that he's with? And keep in mind, there's other There's plenty of fights. It's just none of them are happening. Why can't they pull the trigger on fights? Not just the clout chase fights with Top Rank or PBC fighters. I'm talking about in-house fights. Crawford's, Virgil Ortiz, Madrimov, Bohachuk. And this is where Boots' career is. Let me know what you guys think. But for me, not really looking good. Make sure you guys subscribe for all your boxing news, the latest and greatest. We'll see what is actually decided, but the forecast is looking grim, at least to me.